So, what I wanted to mention is that in both episodes of the Digital Toolbox so far, I have a confession to make. Hey, folks, how's it going? So, I am trying to do something a little bit different because I am on the road at the moment. So, just know that I am in the car and I am doing this. So, I will do my best to clean up the audio. But in the meantime, thank you for joining me. I gotta wait for this truck here. So, for those of you that have been following the podcast Beyond the Forge, I much appreciate it. Thank you. I co host this with my wife, Chantal, and we do regular episodes, or at least we are starting to now, with topics that deal with mental health and the struggles of people that go through the pursuit of happiness and greatness and success. So, we peel back those layers, we go raw and in depth, unfiltered, and we try to really capitalize on the human aspect, the human element behind what goes on. So whether someone is a business owner, an entrepreneur, or even just somebody that has accomplished something in life, we peel back those layers and we really dive deep into what forged them through the fire, what they had to go through, what they had to do to suffer, what sacrifices they made in order to get to where they are in life. I did start a spin-off series, and it is the Digital Toolbox. So Beyond the Forge Digital Toolbox, we've only had a couple episodes so far, but what that entails is a quick dive, shorter episodes into the landscape of technology and where we're headed, the future. Some of it has to do with AI. So in the first episode of the Digital Toolbox, I capitalized on the differences of Claude. I'm speeding up, so bear with me. Oh, it looks like it's going to rain. I capitalize on the differences of Claude versus ChatGPT. OpenAI's prime product versus Anthropic's flagship product. I've paid for both pro versions before. I played around with them, and it seems every couple months they come out with new releases of features. There are definitely pros and cons to either platform, but again, it's going to vary which one you use, what you use them for, and how they benefit you. So, in the first episode, the Digital Toolbox, I compared and contrast a little bit of those platforms based off of my experience and what I do. I'm in the data science field. So, checking on how the syntax in my Python scripts, making those a little bit easier for me for troubleshooting. Those have helped me a lot. And so far, Claude is doing the trick for me. So I mentioned that, and that's why I somewhat prefer Claude over ChatGPT, at least for my use case. This is more for me. Obviously, everybody's going to be different. But again, these AI tools, generative AI with the large language models, and how we are leveraging deep learning and the neural networks that are built on top of these architectures, they're only going to continue to expand and provide us with more opportunity as we get to leverage more advanced technology. And that was a brief summary of, sorry, I had somebody that just wasn't paying attention, almost crashed right into me. So that was a brief summary of the first episode of the Digital Toolbox. The second episode of the Digital Toolbox, I go into a little more in depth about the future of AI and what that holds for data professionals. So, people in my career field and in similar career fields, data analysts, business analysts, I talk a little bit more on that and how I believe the power of a data engineer will become very valuable to those that are in entry, junior, mid level data type fields. For those that are not wanting to learn new skills, they're going to have to think of something because in the next 5 to 10 years, AI will be outsourced to provide a vast majority of functions. 2025 is the year of the agentic AI. What I mean by that is custom AI agents that are built for very specific tasks. And a lot of companies are investing into agentic solutions. So it's only building from there. So the momentum is growing. We're going to see an evolution going into 2026 as it continues to pile on. So what I wanted to mention is that in both episodes of the Digital Toolbox so far, I have a confession to make. That wasn't actually my voice. Now, let me clarify. That was my voice per se, but that wasn't actually me talking. I did type up a script and I let my voice do the rest. Again, what do I mean by that? Well, I built an AI voice clone of myself. I was able to have a voice clone replicate my voice, the sound of my voice, the tone. I was able to train it on 28 minutes of clips and of me contributing directly to actually talking to the training model itself. And I was able to spin that up in a way where I could get my voice replicated that made it sound a little more natural. Now, it's not perfect. At least to me, I do notice a little bit of nuances when it comes to how I sound, how I talk, what my voice actually protrudes with, and the accentuated words. What I really wanted to do was experiment. So that's what I did. I wanted to see if I could create a podcast without even talking. And that's exactly what I did. I produced a couple episodes, which happened to be the Digital Toolbox. So I think this would probably be a good entry into the Digital Toolbox's third installment. So here I am. This is actually me. This is my real voice, not AI this time, but to tell you that DT01 and 02 for the Beyond the Forge podcast was all AI generated. So how did I do this? There are a few different types of applications that you can do this from. One that I am particularly fond of is called ElevenLabs. So what ElevenLabs does, oh my gosh, that is a huge cloud. It's almost like tornado weather. It got dark so fast. Like, I feel like I'm driving into the abyss here. This is scary. But anyways, ElevenLabs, that's what I'm using right now. That's what I seem to be fond of. And they're doing a lot better. Over the last few months, they've actually produced enhancements to a lot of their voice models. So there are actually many to choose from. So when I first started looking into voice clones, I initially looked into Google's Notebook LM, and I think it does a fairly decent job. Like the voices in Notebook LM's app seemed pretty natural, and I liked how it would just take some words and run with it. It would use AI to generate a script, and it would be like a podcast going back and forth between two hosts. So I thought that was pretty amazing. I was testing that out. What I found out pretty quickly is that, for one, it's free, and anybody that's using the free version, they're going to get the same voice or the same voices. There's a male and female voice that goes back and forth as a co-hosting podcast duo. And what a lot of people seem to be doing is producing these podcast episodes or even putting them up on YouTube. They'll talk about different things, but it'll be the same voices. So down the road now, we're talking months later, there's thousands of media clips out there with the same voices. They're pretty easy to distinguish. I did not want to be one of those because honestly, I was looking for something different. I wanted to see if I could actually produce something that I thought was a little bit more unique and see what I could do to really fine tune a better experience. So that's where ElevenLabs comes into play. Using ElevenLabs, I get to replicate a voice clone of myself, but there are various other options. There are many different voices that you can use for virtually any type of purpose. So initially, I was looking for a voice that would do my intro to the podcast. And I started experimenting. And so what you hear in Beyond the Forge, you'll see that in the trailer and you'll see that in the first few episodes that we have, especially with where my wife and I co-host, and we've had a couple interviews so far. You'll notice the intro. It stands out with a deep booming voice. It sounds a little bit more like a middle-aged male voice, somewhat like of a sportscaster. And I think it does a really great job. There was just one thing that kind of annoyed me every time I would attach the clip to our episodes. And that was just the pronunciation of our names. It wasn't a big thing, but it threw me off a little bit. My wife noticed it as well. So naturally, I wanted to gravitate towards something different. On our last episode that Chantal and I did, I went back onto ElevenLabs, and this time I used my voice clone. I used the replicant of my voice for the intro. Same words. I didn't change those up. I added different music this time, but overall, everything was kept the same. So I replaced that voice with my voice clone. And honestly, I actually prefer it. I like it. It sounds more natural. It sounds like it's more from us. So keeping that around, I think that provides a little bit of better value through future iterations and installments of the podcast. Now, what does that mean when I say future iterations and installments of the podcast where this provides value? That's exactly what I mean. Why not use it? Here's the thing. I don't have a lot of time during the day. I'm pretty busy. I'm a family man. I have a job, and I'm also running somewhat of a small business on the side, doing some work. And then I also enjoy doing this podcast. And so with that said, I definitely want to carve out some time for what I enjoy. I think that's important. But in order to do that, I have to be smart about it. I have to find some time. So it's not just about finding time here and there, half an hour here, an hour there, 45 minutes where I can. Sure, I can do that. A lot of times it seems to pass me by because of just how hectic things can be for us. So what I started looking into was trying to automate more of that approach. And why not, right? Now, I will give full disclosures out, especially in the future when I am using my AI generated voice, which sounds just like me. So I'll be using my voice clone probably in some future episodes. But that all ultimately that is to save me some time. The content will be the same. The words come from me. I try to type out my thoughts as best I can. And then I have my voice clone just speak to it. And as it talks, I can go about my business. And what I'll do is I review it later when I can, and I'll push it out. So that's the idea. It's not so much that it's only saving me time, but it's fun actually. I like this kind of stuff. So because it's a little bit of both, you've got AI, we're playing with technology and also doing the podcast. It's hitting my endorphin levels, going about that approach and hitting two of those ends. So from DTO 1 and 02, Digital Toolbox, Beyond the Forge, that's my voice clone. And then the new intro to Beyond the Forge, I just started using that in a recent episode that me and Chantal produced. Episode 05, After the Storm. I use my voice clone for that. If you guys are interested or ever have any other questions, feel free. Hit up the comments. I'll also provide some additional links in the show notes. You can join my newsletter. I can throw out some tips and tricks for you guys, and I would love to do that for you all. So I will provide what I can, and I hope that will be of value to you. Anyways, I am arriving at my final destination. So it was nice making this and chatting with y'all while I was on my drive. And who knows, I may try to do something like this in the future, a driving podcast. Until then, folks, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.